Oh, hello, great readers. I'm Belchan.
I'm Nimikung.
I'm Banchan.
In this class, I'll read to all of you a part of Great Expectations.
As.
Ah.
Great Expectations. Charles Dickens. Chap. 39 Sec 1. He was 23 years of age. Not another word had I heard to enlighten me on the subject of my expectations. And my 23rd birthday was a week gone. We had left Barnard's in more than a year, and lived in the Temple. Our chambers were in Garden Court, down by the river. Wister. Pocket and I had for some time parted company as to our original relations, though we continued on the best terms. Incomplete tenure on which I held my means, he had a taste for reading, and read regularly so many hours a day. That matter of Herbert's was still progressing. The last preceding chapter. Business had taken Herbert on a journey to Marseilles. I was alone, and had a dull sense of being alone. Dispirited and anxious, hoping that tomorrow or next week would came my way, and long disappointed. I sadly missed the cheerful face and ready response of my friend. It was wretched weather, stormy and wet, and mud, went deep in all the streets. Day after day. A vast vehicle had been driving over London from the east, and it drove still, as if in the east there were an eternity of cloud and wind. So furious had been the gusts, that high buildings in town had had the leads stripped off their roofs, and in the country, trees had been torn up, and sails of windmills carried away, and gloomy accounts had come in from the coast, our shipwreck and death. Violent blasts of rain had accompanied these rages of wind. Of all, alterations have been made in that part of the Temple since that time, and it has not now so lonely a character as it had then, nor is it so exposed to the river. We lived at the top of the last house, and the wind rushing up the river shook the house that night, like discharges of cannon, or breakings of a sea. When the rain came with it and dashed against the windows, I thought, raising my eyes to them as they rocked, that I might have fancied myself in a storm-beaten lighthouse. Occasionally, out into such a night, and when I set the doors open and looked down the staircase lamps were blown out. Wind and rain. I saw that the lamps in the court were blown out, and that the lamps on the bridges and the shore were shuddering. Wind like red hot splashes in the rain. I read with my watch upon the table, purposing to close my book at 11 o'clock. As I should it. St. Paul's, and all the many church clocks in the Cytexum leading, some accompanying, some following struck that hour. The sound was curiously followed by the wind, and I was listening, and thinking how the wind assailed and tore it, when I heard a footstep on the stair. What nervous folly made me start, and awfully connected with the footstep of my dead sister. Matters not. It was past in a moment, and I listened again, and heard the footsteps stumbling coming on. Remembering then that the staircase lights were blown out, I took up my reading lamp and went out to the stairhead. Whoever was below had stopped on seeing my lamp, for all was quiet. There's someone down there. Is there not? I called out. Looking down, he said a voice from the darkness beneath. The top. Mister. Nothing the matter, returned the voice. And the man came on. I stood with my lamp held out over the stairwell, and he came slowly within its light. It was a shaded lamp, to shine upon a book, and its circle of light was very contracted, so that he was in it for an instant, and then out of it. In the instant, I had seen a face that was strange to me. Then, moving the lamp as the man moved, I made out that he was substantially dressed, but roughly, like a vision by sea, that he had long iron grey hair, that his age was about 60, that he was a muscular man, strong on his legs, and that he was browned and hardened by exposure to weather. As he ascended the last stair or two, and the light of my lamp included us both, I saw, with a stupid kind of amazement, that he was holding out both his hands to me. Pray, what is your business? I asked him. My business, he repeated, pausing. What? Yes. I will explain my business. Yes, he replied. I wish to come in. I had asked him the question inhospitably enough. Please. I resented it, because it seemed to imply that he expected me to respond to it. But I took him into the room I had just left, and then, having set the lamp on the table, asked him as civilly as I could to explain himself. He looked about him with the strangest sternor of wondering pleasure. Off at her coat, and his hat, and I saw that his head was furrowed and bald, and that the long iron grey had grown on its sides. But I saw nothing that in the least explained him. On the contrary, I saw him next moment, once more holding out both his hands to me. What do you mean? Said I, half suspecting him to be mad. He stopped in his looking at me, and slowly rubbed his right hand over his head. It's disappointing to a man, he said, in a coarse, broken voice, after having looked for it so distant, and come so far. You're not to blame for that, and neither on us is to blame for that. I'll speak in half a minute. Give me half a minute. He sat down on a chair that stood before the fire, and covered his forehead with his large brown veinous hands. I looked at him attentively then, and recoiled a little from him, but I did not know him. There's no one nigh, said he, looking over his shoulder. Why do you? A stranger coming into my rooms at this time of the night? Ask that question, said I. You're a game one, he returned, shaking his head at me with a deliberate affection, at once most unintelligible and most exasperating. And good you've gored up. A game one. But don't catch hold of me. I relinquished the intention he had detected, for I knew him. Even yet I could not recall a single feature. What I knew him. If the wind and the rain had driven away the intervening years, had scattered all the intervening objects, different levels, he sat in the chair before the fire. No need to take a file from his pocket and show it to me. No need to take the handkerchief from his neck and twist it round his head. No need to hug himself with both his arms and take a shivering turn across the room, looking back at me for recognition. I knew him before he gave me one of those aids. A moment before, I had not been conscious of remotely suspecting his identity. He came back to where I stood and again held out both his hands, not knowing what to do for. In my astonishment, I had lost my self-possession. He reluctantly gave him my hands. He grasped them heartily, raised them to his lips, kissed them, and still held them. "You acted noble, my boy," said he. "Noble." Though, at a change in his manner, as if he were even going to embrace me, I laid a hand upon his breast and put him away. "Stay," said I. "Keep off." Shouted. "I hope you have shown your gratitude by mending your way of life. If you have come here to thank me, it was not necessary. Still, however, you have found me out. There must be something good in the feeling that has brought you here, and I will not repulse you." My attention was so attracted by the singularity of his fixed look at me that the words died away on my tongue. "You was a saying," he observed, when we had confronted one another in silence, "that surely I must understand." "What?" "That I cannot wish to renew that chance intercourse with you of long ago. Under these different circumstances, I am glad to believe you have repented and recovered yourself. I am glad to tell you so. I am glad that, thinking I deserve to be thanked, you have come to thank me. But our ways are different ways. To be continued.